Hey my friend, let's talk about mental health, well-being, working as a producer in a home studio in 2024. What are some of the challenges that you're most likely to face and some suggestions on how you can overcome them? Let's dive straight in. And I'm going to start things off with something that I've found personally quite challenging as the years have rolled on. When I started out producing in my home studio, I typically was working towards creating a CD, which I could then show to my friends and family and say, look, I've made this. I can show it to myself and feel it. It was a tangible product. And most importantly, I could take it out on the road with a band, or I could go out busking, go to open mics, and I had something in my hands that I could sell to people if they were enjoying my music. Now, of course, we're in 2024 now, and the idea of actually making physical products has become less and less desirable, as these days it's so easy to get our music distributed onto platforms like Bandcamp, onto Spotify. And it's super easy using a distributor like DistroKid, for example. If you want to get involved with them and release your music, there's a 7% discount code below this video. And being able to distribute your music in this way, of course, is incredible. But the big downside that I found was that I never really felt like I had anything to show for it. I never had that product to say, I've done this and I've achieved it. And sometimes I'd feel a bit depressed when I'd finish a project, I put it online or I make a video online, but everything still was just online. So I'd be looking for people to like it and comment and build that platform, but never actually having anything tangible in my hands. Now, if I was active as a singer-songwriter right now, something I would definitely do is get involved in making a short run of vinyl. Vinyl is not only booming, you know, a lot of people right now have record players again and they're collecting records and they want to have something tangible again. They kind of feel like I felt in that it's great that you can access music just about everywhere, but you know, people want to hold on to something. They want to become part of something, and that's really important, I think, when you're starting out as a singer-songwriter or as a band. You want to make a name for yourself and build a following. So just doing a short run of vinyl means that you can access your super fans, the people who are really into your music, and sell them that vinyl that they want to get hold of and have more of a connection with your band. But also, I know that I'd want to keep one for myself too, to show myself that I'd achieved something. And I think that's super good for your mental health well-being. Next up is the thing sitting behind me, and that's the screen, being a slave to the screen. So easy, I'm sure you know, to be sat at a screen for hours on end working on a project and the time kind of just fritters away, but it's really not that great for our mental health, especially not good for our eyesight either. I mean, taking regular half an hour or 45-minute breaks is a really, really good idea. Not only just to give your mind a bit of a rest and to change your perspective a bit, because things can get a little bit swervy when you're working online or if you're working on a project in a DAW for a long period of time, but also with your eyesight as well. It's really important to not just be staring at that short distance all the time, but to get into another space and exercise that long distance vision. Something I've done really recently to counteract just always working on a screen is actually I've picked up a 4-track again and started recording on a 4-track. The guys over at Zoom kindly sent me over their R4 portable studio last year, and I've just been using it outside of the studio to enjoy recording again. I think that's a really healthy thing to do if you're finding yourself slave to the screen. I'm finding I'm enjoying making music again by just having on a set of headphones and working on a 4-track and building music that way, rather than always taking on big projects, staring at a screen for long periods of time. Next up is coping with failure. If you're going to be working in a home studio producing your music or somebody else's music, you're going to be mixing, you're going to be arranging stuff, you're going to be writing stuff, you're going to have to get pretty used to failure, because some projects simply aren't going to turn out particularly well. Some songs you're going to come back to the next day and you're going to think, do you know what? Nah, you're going to be working on a production and you're just not going to be able to get it arranged at that time. You might have to shelve it, come back to it in a year's time, and maybe you've got a fresh head in it. It's the same goes for mixing, because you're checking it with other mixes, even checking it with your own mixes or your reference material, and you just think, oh man, I'm just way off here. And you can feel like a failure. Here's the thing, and I think this is a great top tip, is to swap the word failure out for growth, because every time you have a failure, you're growing, you're developing, you've learned something new. The only real failure is to not ever learn from your mistakes. Hey, I've got a free vocal EQ cheat sheet, and you can grab it by just clicking the link below this video. It's going to help you mix better sounding vocals today. Next up is perfectionism, or learning to cope with perfectionism, learning to deal with it, and learning to accept that not all of your projects are going to be perfect. In fact, I doubt any of them are ever going to be perfect, but learning to accept that when it's good, it's good. You know, there was a famous author, and I can't remember her name, but she was talking in a podcast about a book that she'd written, and she knew intentionally there was a chapter in the book or a strain in the narrative that she wasn't totally confident with. She didn't feel like the character had gone in the right direction, but she was pleased with the overall package of the book, and she felt like she'd done her best. So she released it knowing that that chapter and that strain of the character wasn't quite where she wanted it to be, but the overall package of the book was really strong. So she released it knowing it. I mean, that would be a real challenge, right? Definitely would be a challenge for me, and I'm sure it'd be a challenge for you, but she did it, and it went on to be a really big bestseller. She cited a lot of reviews saying, you know, I'm not too keen on this part of the book, but it didn't detract from it being a bestseller and being a really successful project for her. I think it's a really good lesson in there for all of us to not hang on to perfectionism, but to take a step back with a wider lens. And if you're enjoying this content, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe up here on Real Home Studio. Let's move on to overproducing. I think that's something that absolutely everybody at some point is guilty of, just overstretching our abilities and skills at a certain point, rather than thinking, you know, this is the best I can do. And that really relates back to what I was discussing earlier about that author, knowing when you've done your best and being happy with it, because that truly is the art of growth. If you carry on pounding the same project for hours and days and months, you're not really ever going to learn too much other than just how to get incredibly frustrated. Constantly comparing a mix that you're working on to a pro mix and just feeling like you're just not getting in the ballpark is going to drive you crazy. And ultimately, that's not the road to growth. Far better to set yourself a deadline and work like the pros. Set yourself a deadline for a week's time and say, this project has to be done there. It has to be done on this date. Work towards that date and finish it by that date. That way, you're going to move forward, work on future products, and you're going to grow and accelerate your skill set so much quicker. If you're a musician in the UK and you are struggling with your mental health, there's a great organisation called Help Musicians. You can find them at helpmusicians.org.uk. You can reach out to them. They have a 24-hour helpline as well, specifically for musicians surrounding mental health. It's called Music Minds Matter. You can check that out. It's an amazing resource, and that's super helpful. I've worked with them in the past, and they've helped me out in the past, and they're a brilliant charities. You can check them out in the UK. Now, around the world, I want you to let me know and help your fellow producers and musicians. Are there similar charities and organisations around where you live? Let me know in the comments box below. What struggles do you have working in your home studio? Let me know in the comments box below. This is a great conversation to have so we can all help each other collectively as a community to improve our mental health well-being. If you're interested in learning more and developing your skills to be an awesome home studio producer, I have a whole bunch of resources for you. I've got over 10 hours of home studio production tuition. You can join the Real Home Studio community and interact with other fellow producers and get access to exclusive monthly content. All of that is bundled within the Real Home Studio All Access Pass, and you don't even have to pay anything right now. You can get access for free for 7 days and try it all out. If you like it, it's just $14 a month. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, you're definitely going to enjoy this next one.